Maribel, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. Just wanted to make sure. I'm going to put this on mute now till we get some more people here. Maribel, are you there?
Okay, sounds good. Yes, I am.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Maribel,
Yes.
can you tell me whether other alder people are in the room, as it were?
So we have Barbara, Douglas, Tony, and I think I'm not sure who the other three people are who are on their phone who called in. I'm not sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So we got Doug and Tony. We're looking for Don Tollerman. If you could let me know when he signs in, I'd appreciate it.
All right, will do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Going back on mute.
Don has entered the meeting.
Thank you, Maribel. So the last person we're waiting for is Patrick O'Reilly.
Hey guys, Don here.
Hi, Don. Tony and Doug are also virtual with us.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Tony.
Hello.
So was the ledge about the computers for council, is that not on this list?
It is somewhere.
The what?
The proposal for the council to get computers?
Some of the things they don't, it's not, it
It
doesn't say
doesn't
that
specify, right?
directly.
Yeah, but you know what it is, though?
We'll see when we get there. So for example, the $700,000 for CSEA is, resolution 240. But it doesn't say.
What it's for.
Title CSEA.
Is that on purpose?
Yeah, clearly too wants to confuse us further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody is not, muted.
Yeah.
Where is that? Yeah, I see.
All right. I think we'll get started and we'll hope that Patrick O'Reilly shows up here soon. So welcome to Caucus with Kingston Common Council. We are live and virtual. Some members are on the screen, as it were. We've got there Don Hollerman, Doug Coop, and Tony Davis. Here in the hall, we've got Michelle Hirsch, Rita Worthington, Jeffrey Morrell, Steve Shabbat, and myself, Rennie Scott Childress. We're discussing the proposed legislation for tomorrow night. No actions can be taken tonight for those of you who are watching for the first time. This is merely a discussion among party members about the way that they're looking at the proposed legislation at the moment. So with that said, we will get started. A number of these items are things that have been worked out recently. That's real. And we will proceed through the list. If anybody's unclear about the list, you can find it at kingston-ny.gov. Go to the bottom of the screen. There is a calendar there. Click on tonight for the caucus meeting. You'll get another screen. Go to the bottom of the column, and there will be two different items there. One is the list of agenda items, but the other one is the proposals in their full glory. So, without further ado, we'll get started with Resolution 223. This is a request for a transfer in the wastewater treatment plant for $10,000. Purchase equipment parts. Somebody needs to be muted that's online there. Can everyone who's online please mute yourselves, or Maribel, if you see who it is, can you mute everybody until they want to talk? Remember to, only members of the Common Council are part of this meeting. We don't take any public comment, so please act accordingly. If you don't, Maribel has the power to cut you off. All right, so with this particular one, there is no financial impact because they're going to move money around within the WWTP budget. Are we all okay with this one? Comments, questions, concerns? Next item, number 224. This is a transfer in the Department of Public Works, in the amount of $8,500 from contingency to cover DMV expenses. Everybody clear on this one? This is some leftover fees related to the city bus.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? All right. 225, this is a transfer in the Parks and Rec Department for $2,000 to cover the expense of 2 bicycles to be raffled off at the annual after-school program holiday party. Everyone okay with this? This is also no financial impact. It's from within Parks and Rec's budget.
Good.
We're all good, okay. And we move to 226, requesting a transfer in the police department in the amount of $256,000 to cover the expense of retirement payouts, grant funding, and internal transfers to balance accounts. This one, in that sense, has no financial impact. Everybody okay with that?
Good.
Number 227, a transfer in Parks and Rec in the amount of $15,071 to appropriately reflect the change in assigned responsibilities of the director of the department. This is an item that actually was approved by us earlier in the year. This is simply changing the budget to reflect that change in salary for increased duties. Any discussion on that one? Zero financial impact here. Hearing none, we'll move on. Resolution 228, requesting a transfer in contingency to replenish the account. This is moving $150,000 from health insurance to contingency. So the financial impact is $150,000. This is for the current budget year. Any questions, discussion, concerns?
Yes, Randy, $150,000 for what purpose?
To replenish contingency.
Replenish contingency.
Yes, our contingency account is somewhat low.
Okay, where's it coming from?
It's coming from the health insurance line. It's line A19060.5821.
Okay,
Anybody who has had finance at night have anything to add to that? This is from October 27th.
Do we need to show the amount?
It's shown
Reflect
on
the amount? Is it, it was on a committee report? Yeah.
It's,
Okay.
yeah, the amount is on the committee report,
Okay.
and in the actual resolution, it says, move the money as follows from, it's got the line amounts to the contingency line, contingency, and claim amount.
Okay.
All right, 229, resolution of the Common Council to adjust expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows. This is for an adjustment in the amount of $23,000 for the fire department uniform allowance. This was a tiny oversight in previous work because this is contractually required. So this should have been in the budget from the beginning. So like I say, this is contractually required. So there's no financial impact here. Any questions, concerns, issues?
Okay.
All right. Resolution 230. Adjust expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows. This is an adjustment of $7,109 to adjust expenditures. This is from contingency, and it goes to part-time employees, $5,892, Social Security, New York State Retirement. This is for which committee, which department is this for? All right. It doesn't say on the documentation here which department we're looking at. This is clearly, oh, no, is this zoning? We increased the hours of zoning. I'll ask John Terry tomorrow.
John Tui should be on tonight.
He's available if we need to speak to him, so why don't we wait and see if we have other questions or concerns, and I'll give him a call and we can go over all at the same time. Is that okay? All right, 231. Resolution to adjust offsetting revenues and expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows. $50,000. This is in Parks and Rec. This is the movement of a grant, Sustainability New York State grant, $50,000 to consultants. So there's no financial impact here. Everybody okay with that one? Again, that's something that should have been in the budget. It wasn't, but it has no financial impact. Resolution 232 is to adopt the 2022 fee schedule, as per attached. This has no financial impact because it's just laying out all the fees. As I remember, we didn't change much. Does anybody remember any changes in particular?
We added the hotel licensing.
Hotel licensing, yeah.
The solar. The solar permits.
Mm-hmm.
Made some changes with the park rentals for the nonprofits.
Mm-hmm. All right, so does anybody have any issues with any of the fees that are in the current schedule? We also decreased the taxi cab license fee.
No.
$500 to $100.
That's good.
There was a change in the leachate, but that's determined by the issues down at the wastewater treatment plant.
Tipping fees.
What's that?
Tipping fees.
Tipping fees, All right, any issues there with zoning anybody has? I mean, sorry, not zoning, with our fees?
Good.
All right, 233 is an issue introduced by Tony Davis to adjust expenditures in the 2022 general fund to take $10,000 from contingency and put it into the clerk's department for Rondout Docks construction and materials. This is to improve the docks down there so that they will be modernized. Everybody okay with that one? And because it's coming from, we're putting it in the budget here, there's no financial impact. If everyone's okay, we'll move on to 234. This is to adjust expenditures in the general fund. This is $14,500. This is for 2 items for the Common Council. Data processing equipment, $10,000, and telephones, $4,500. This is something we discussed a fair amount for the Common Council, so that we would be able to have dedicated equipment and connections that would be solely related to our government work, so that we'd be able to stop subsidizing City of Kingston through the use of our own telephone connection plans, our own data processing, our own computers, and so forth. Everybody okay with that? Any discussion?
Good.
Hearing no discussion, we will move on to
235.
235. This is an addition to contingency of $54,154 for
To adjust the fund budget.
right, the general fund budget to increase contingency. This is the amount that was left over after we had made the various changes during the budget process. So to a certain extent, this is a financial impact of $54,154. But basically what that's saying is we didn't want to change the amount of the budget. So we have this number to make sure everything equals out to zero, so that there's no change in the overall tax levy. Any comment or discussion on this one? It is hot.
So would this include the information that we received today from our grant managers department?
Not this specific one. This one is what we were talking about with Dan Baker. Because he was advocating for another employee in his department. And so this is money that we were thinking we would put aside in particular for that position if the mayor so chooses to use it that way, which we would encourage him to do. Otherwise, it's there, and it's just more money in contingency for next year's budget. We okay? So in a sense, this should probably be the very last item, but here it is. Resolution 236. This has to do with the base proportion ratio. As in years past, we're adjusting it by 20%, so that we're moving the base proportion ratio from 54.78658% homestead and 45, or moving it to that number, and moving the non-homestead to 45.21342% for the 2022 tax year. In essence, we're following the exact same plan we followed for the last 5 years at least on this, to try to get our base proportions back into what most accountants call for. Everybody okay with that one? And there's a list there of what that means. All right, 237. This adjusts expenditures in the 2022 general and sewer fund budget to reduce the proposed mayor's salary. In the budget, the mayor proposed a total of a $10,000 increase for the office of the mayor. In our discussions, the finance committee decided it would be more appropriate to make that $5,000, and that's what this one's about. So in essence, the other way of putting this is to increase the pay of the mayor by the mayor's office by $5,000. So it would go, I believe, from $80,000 to $85,000 this year. Discussion?
Yes. Let me just say that I'm absolutely opposed to the reduction in the mayor's salary in any and all parts of this budget. I will vote no on this.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, this is Don.
What was the committee vote on this? We have committee, we have in front of us, we have committee reports, but no, they're unsigned. So I have no idea who voted for or against.
I believe it was unanimous. Do I remember that correctly?
No, it's 3-2.
Oh, it was 3-2.
Don-
Okay. Who was
Don and
for?
Michelle voted against it.
That's all.
Unanimous in the sense of How many were,
So it was 3 in favor, 2 against.
let me understand. You said 3 were in favor and 2 against.
3 were in favor of the $5,000 amount. 2 were against the $5,000 amount.
Who are those people? Why don't we have this documented in front of us? Why do I have to ask this question?
Because COVID.
Never mind. Who voted for and who voted against it?
Let's see. Steve, you remember how you voted?
Don and Michelle voted against it.
I made the proposal. It was 3 choices: not increase his pay at all, increase it by 5,000, or increase it by 10,000, which he had in the budget. It didn't appear that it was going to be favorable for it to increase by $10,000. So I made the proposal to increase it by at least $5,000 to make it $85,000 and still be on track by 2025 to reach the $100,000 threshold, is which we had talked about a few years ago. And so if that position would still be on track to reach 100,000 by 2025. People voting in favor were myself, Steve Shabbat, and Rennie, and then Don and Michelle were against it.
So Tony, Shabbat, and Rennie were for.
Yeah.
And against were Michelle
And Don.
and
And-
Don.
There was no discussion about why they were against it. So
Okay.
you would have to X on that.
It was a close vote of 3-2 that passed this out of committee, correct?
Yes, but Michelle, were you against it in the sense of wanting to go 0 or 10,000?
I felt that while I was not on the council at the time, I felt like there was a gentleman's agreement made with the council and the mayor about increasing his salary, and I felt that he should be at that $10,000 mark by now.
There was also part of the agreement, if you remember, that we would increase the common council's salary as well, but we're not doing that. We're not increasing the common council's salary. So in that sense, because there was no increase last year because of the COVID issue, we decided that we would forego the common council's increase that we had talked about as part of that agreement, but go $5,000 for the mayor this year. So that, in a sense, leaves last year as 0. So the 10,000 was, my understanding from the mayor, was to make up for not getting the increase last year plus an increase this year.
Okay.
Rennie, can we move? Rennie, can that be voted on again?
It has to be voted on tomorrow night, Don.
Right.
We can't vote on it now. This is just caucus.
No, I know that. I know. It's not talking about tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we'll vote.
I think I understand it. I will be opposed to this resolution.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Patrick?
Yeah, I think what Randy said was true, but I think it was a little different situation. The mayor came in, spoke to us in all earnest about the fact that the mayor's salary needed to be increased. We looked at, Randy brought in the figures, and I think we all agree that $90,000 is about the right price for a mayor in this size town, right about now. So he's a little, but the average is right where he is, but Kingston's a special place, maybe he's worth a little bit more. But, so he came to us, and we kind of said, that's a great idea, and we would kind of agreed with him, and that we would give him those raises. He came in the next year and said, look, I want to not take that raise. I don't know exactly what his wording was, but basically, I'm not going to take my raise this year in the budget, and we'll see what happens next year. Well, it's next year now, and things are okay. Right? So we made this agreement with him for $5,000 a year. That's a little different than making an agreement with yourself to give yourself a $1,000 raise, right? That's a little different. So the council said, okay, give ourselves $1,000 this raise this year, and we'll see what happens. It's a little different when you're saying, I'm going to give myself a raise next year, or you're going to give another human being a raise next year. It's a big difference between those two things. So I think we did make an agreement with the mayor. I think he was very admirable of him to take his $5,000 cut. We found out that the city is not in trouble that we thought it would be in. We found out that it's not in financial crisis that we might thought it was going to be in back then. So give the man his raise,
All right,
$10,000.
all right. So Patrick, looks like you'll be also against this one tomorrow night.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so at this point, that would be 5 in favor, 4 against. So if anybody who is currently not against, if you change your mind tonight or tomorrow, if you let me know, I'd appreciate it. Before,
Randy, clarification. Did you say 5, 4, 5, 4 FOR for it and 5, 4 FOUR against it? Did I say that again?
5 in favor, as written.
Who are the 5?
That would be Jeffrey, me, Rita, Tony, and Steve.
Okay, I got it.
All right?
And we know that Michelle and Doug and Patrick are against. Let's see, who are we missing here?
Don,
Tom, yeah, Don, all, okay.
Yeah. But Patrick may talk himself out of it tomorrow night.
That's right, I might get mad tonight, you never know.
Hey, wait till I tell you what he said about you.
All right, are we good on that one then? That's 238.
Touche, Randy.
239.
What was, wait a minute. I got the mayor's salary as 237. What did I miss?
Yeah,
What's 238?
Because I think they're both mayor's salary, but one is in the sewer fund and one is in the general.
So 237 and 238 are both the mayor's salary?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So now we're going to 239, right?
maybe
Yes.
it's maybe not a coincidence. Stinks.
All right, so 239.
So I have a question, sorry, can I go back, Randy, for a second?
Yes, sir.
So if we, let's say somehow somebody from, decides now, after we had discussion, that the right thing to do is to give him the $10,000, and now the vote is the other way. What happens to the budget then?
Well, then we have to figure out where to take the $10,000 from.
On the floor?
Yeah, and 2, we will have to make a calculation, but remember, we've got this sense of $54,000 cushion that we just put into contingency.
Yes.
So in essence, I think the easiest thing, again, I'm not John Toohey, but my assumption is he would simply move $10,000 from that amount, or $5,000 from that amount back into these two, 237 and 238.
And that $8,000 was gonna be maybe used for, someone in the assessor's office?
That's what we were suggesting and hoping that the mayor would do, but, that would be subject to some negotiation.
Okay, so we have $54,000 that could be used for some very vital position that needs to be done, or we can give the mayor the break.
Right,
So I have a
it's
question.
Jeffrey.
So if we make any changes and money has to be taken out of that 54,000 cushion, why are we voting on that one first and not last?
Beats me, it's the order that's here. So John Toohey is the one who put these in order. I don't know if there's a specific reasoning for it. That would be a question for him.
Ren,
Hey,
Yes,
Doug,
sir.
can I ask you a question?
Hold on a second, Tony?
I thought 238, I thought the capital plan is not the plan, the equipment and all that the department's requesting.
Are you talking about one that we already looked at?
Yeah, well, we were at 238. I said the bond ordinance for the capital plan. I thought the capital plan was the equipment and stuff that several departments were their wish list. Am I incorrect? DPW wants equipment, the police department wants equipment,
Oh, yeah,
wastewater treatment.
yeah,
Is that,
it says bond ordinance for the capital plan. Tony's correct. Resolution 238.
All right, well, that's the problem with ordering.
I was just wanting to make sure as the capital plan, in the wish list of the several departments.
Okay, we'll get through the list and then come back to that.
Got one more question.
Yes, Patrick.
Doug Coop. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Doug?
Yeah, Don, what?
Yeah, Doug, Patrick. Doug, what is your reason you're not in favor of reducing the mayor's $10,000 rate fee?
Say again, Don, I can hear you, but I can't understand you.
Against reducing the mayor's raise.
The mayor's raise, yep.
Why are you against it? I mean, why are you for the 10,000?
Why am I against it? Because I think he's underpaid for the work that he does. Yeah, we said 2 years ago that we had this plan laid out to do this. Yeah, COVID came in and interrupted, but as Patrick said, you know, things are looking better now. I think it's a mistake not to go forward with this. He's done an outstanding job, and of course he's not going to be mayor forever. There's going to be other mayors. Inflation is running 6-7%. We're going to have to keep the salary competitive to get for our next mayor to attract really good people. And I think by stagflating, if I can use the word, stagflating the raises for the mayor, I think that's the wrong thing to do. I think it's penny wise and pound foolish.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
So we're moving on to, I'm looking at the list of actual resolutions, not the, I mean, I'm looking at the actual resolutions, not the list. So this has all the information on it. So we're 239, which is resolution. This is to eliminate the chief of staff position from the mayor's budget. So the total cost of this was going to be $126,925, but reduced from the federal ARPA grant with $64,263. So the cost from contingency from our budget, from our taxpayers, would be $62,662. The mayor had suggested that this would be therefore split, that the ARPA grant would require half of this person's time, and that the other half of the person's time would be spent on a series of tasks that the mayor outlined in his email to us about the position. The discussion here.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Again, I have a committee report here that has no signatures. Who voted what on this?
I know I was in favor of this one. I don't know, does anybody remember this was unanimous? No, what about Don? Don, were you in favor of this?
You have to repeat it for me, Randy. I'm sorry. Resolution.
Are you in favor of the chief of staff position?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Don was in favor. Tony?
Yes.
Tony Davis?
What's the question, Doug?
On resolution 239, how did you vote?
I believe I voted to eliminate the chief of staff position. It was a long discussion There was a long discussion about adding another project manager into the grants management to be able to handle the ARC and funding. And that in the meantime, we received a letter from Ruth Ann, and today, I think everybody received that, and stating what her thoughts about this. And so, at the time, it was discussion, and, everybody has the opportunity to change their vote. But at the time, I voted against this chief of staff, but everybody will have to take in Ruth Ann's letter and then decide for yourself what you want to do and for tomorrow. And I had a long conversation with her this afternoon, and she's stressing that a project manager or ARP manager, and we could have, but not in the grants department. And as and so I'm not going to go through the whole letter she sent. I'm assuming you guys all had an opportunity to read that letter. And so, it's a possibility that could be changing my mind on the floor tomorrow.
So, yeah, the full idea was to defund this position so that the ARPA director, it says the person responsible for ARPA funds would be a full-time position paid for through the ARPA funds. And we thought that the best place for that position would be in the grants department. Now, we don't, as the common council, don't have the power to determine where that position would be. The mayor can place that position anywhere in his administration that the charter allows. So the basic idea here was to reject the chief of staff position in favor of a full-time ARPA manager. And then it would be paid for completely through ARPA funds instead of some taxpayer funds. And actually, my records indicate that our vote was unanimous in favor of this position. So we'd have to go back.
That's not correct. I did vote in favor of it. That was the one.
Then it was 4-1, I guess.
Really, I have a point. So given the fact that Ruth Ann is saying that she doesn't need that position in her department, can we just amend this resolution to put the funds in contingency instead, so that that a consultant can be hired to manage the ARPA funds? And then at the mayor's discretion in which department that position would be under?
Well, the thing is that if we don't fund this position, then the mayor can still create that position using the ARPA funds, right? Because then it's not a drag on our budget. If we're going to take the $62,662 that was earmarked in the budgets, in the mayor's budget from contingency, that's then going to require us to take money from contingency, and that could alter some of those, like the tax levy, a little bit, not much, unless we take that money from somewhere else. If we reduce some other line to put that amount into contingency. Because if we increase the mayor's salary by $5,000, we're up to, and we do this, that would be $67,662. Yes, Doug?
I object here. I started asking a question and you all jumped in and interrupted me, and you never let me finish my thought. And please let me go on. But first, I was trying to ascertain who voted for what. Randy, you voted for it. Don Tolliman voted for it. Tony voted for it, although he's thinking maybe not now. Michelle, how did you vote?
I voted for it.
Okay, and Steve, how did you vote?
I voted in agreement with the elimination.
Okay, well, that's answered now. It was a unanimous vote. Okay, that's just a clerical thing I wanted to understand.
It was not a unanimous vote.
Wait a minute, I have the floor, don't I?
But what you're saying is not correct. It was not a unanimous vote.
It was 5-0, that's unanimous.
4-1.
It was 4-1.
Don Tolliman voted against the elimination.
Don voted against it.
Yes.
Okay, my mistake. Okay.
Against the elimination.
Okay. Well, here's the point that I would like to make. Over the last several years, this mayor,
Hope's on the rise.
with the help of a very competent controller, has been handed budgets that they've controlled and delivered as expected. And now, you know, he's asking for 40 some odd million to 44, 40, whatever it is, 43, 44 million dollars. And I think by steps like this, we are micromanaging a mayor that does not need to be micromanaged. I think we should let him take the funds and do what he wants with it, because he's got a proven record of delivering. And I think it's foolish for us to be doing this. So I will vote against this. Most enthusiastically, when I vote against this. Let him, he knows how to run the city. He's been doing it for, you know, several years now. He's always on budget. We have very little unfavorable variances. Who are we to tell him, you know, nitpick at every little thing along the way? I'm against this. Thank you.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have checks or balances either.
I hear you, Doug, and I'm usually 100% with you on that. You know that. That nitpicking stuff, I don't like it either. But I don't know if this is nitpicking.
Yeah, this is the budget process.
This is, you know, I don't know what implications, you know, this has legally for the union, for the staff below this person who will be put as a chief of staff. You know, what does that mean exactly? Why, I understand that the duties are tremendous for the mayor, I understand, but you have department heads and things like that. But my real concern is about the fact that we have a person now between the mayor and the departments. What kind of ramifications are there for that? I mean, what is the legal ramifications? What are the ramifications with the union? What are the ramifications? I mean, we just created a layer between them, and we haven't really investigated it much. At least I haven't. I don't know if anybody else has got all that investigation done. If you do, please share it. I'd like to hear it. Thank you.
My point again is we've given him a budget. Let him manage it. We don't need to tell him every bend and twist of who you can hire, who you can't hire. He's a professional manager. I think he's done an outstanding job over the years. If he gets out of control, well, we'll step in and correct it. That will be our job. But we're throwing nails in front of him all the way here. It's wrong.
I disagree with that because this is the first major thing we disagree with him here. And my research, the people I've talked to, suggest that this ARPA funding requires much more management than just half-time. Also, the problem that I see is creating a position that once the ARPA funding is done, what do we do then? Do we keep this person on at $80-something thousand a year? I don't know. I don't think so. So that was the tenor of the discussion. All right.
In time, if it turns out that the position runs out of its usefulness, we eliminate it. We're not, our responsibility is not to employ people forever. We hire them for a job. They do the job. As long as the requirements are there, they do the job, good. If the job goes away, we eliminate the position.
Which is why it might be a good idea to follow something along what Jeffrey mentioned, hire somebody via a contract to take care of the ARPA funds. Then it's really clear. There's no creation of a new position. You've got somebody who's dedicated to the ARPA funds, and that just makes it much clearer in this particular instance. That was a lot of what we were discussing. This is new, the idea that Jeffrey had mentioned, the possibility of hiring a consultant to do this, a contract agent to do it.
Or even a firm.
Or a firm, yeah.
Again, I don't want to belabor it. I say, let the mayor manage this.
All right, any other comments, discussion on this one, 239? All right, 240. is the proposal to adjust the general and sewer fund in the 2022 budget. This is with the purpose of taking the amount of money that the mayor has suggested that we use to increase the pay rates of all CSEA employees, to put it into contingency so that as soon as a memorandum of agreement of some sort is approved by the Common Council, we will be able to pay for that agreement. There was some discussion here, Doug, there was some discussion about the best way to go about apportioning these, this pay raise. Everybody's in favor of increasing the pay, but the main question was the proper authority. When we decided this, there was no memorandum of agreement, so we decided to put the money into contingency so that then, as soon as the Common Council approves any memorandum of agreement, whether it's the one that the mayor sent to us to consider in January, or the result of collective bargaining, we would, of the usual form of collective bargaining, we would have the money ready to go as soon as the budget, as soon as the comptroller get the money into circulation. I believe this one was, what was this? Don Tollerman was the one who voted against it.
Oh, I brought it against it as well, Rennie.
I'm sorry, got my letters backed up. Tony Davis voted against it.
And I will also.
I would note that we don't have an actual agreement, and so if we put the money there, it's unclear exactly what it's doing. So if it's in contingency, it's in the right place to be used when the mayor has the authority to use it. That's the only issue. Everybody agrees that the money should be paid, that CSEA deserves this money. I think the big question we were wrestling with is process. All right?
Well,
Yeah,
I just want to say we have a signed MOA now, and I'm in favor of moving ahead and putting this back in the budget line. I mean, we do have a lot of open positions. We have a lot of vacancies in DPW. We're not going to have enough plow operators.
So you're saying what, Michelle? You're afraid of
That
it?
we have the MOA now. I think that we should put it back in.
You're in favor?
we haven't approved the MOA. So, John Toohey, are you here?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, John.
Hi.
So can you help us understand, because, we're just trying to work this out, and we've seen that there's a signed MOA between the mayor and 2 union reps, but that still has to get through the process. So even if we put this money back in the budget the way it was before, what does that mean in terms of the MOA? Does it mean anything substantive?
It's might be better question for the attorneys, but essentially, my understanding is the council has to, the council has to do 2 things. I mean, the first thing is the council would have to authorize or adopt the MOA, right? You approve the MOA, and that would allow for payments to be made under the MOA. It's preferable to, if possible, to have the money in the budget lines as well. So it's basically a 2-step process, or 2 items that have to happen at some point here. If the monies are in the budget line and the MOA is approved, then no one has to go back and do a budget transfer to move the money. If the monies are not in the budget line, at some point after the MOA is approved, somebody would have to go back and do budget transfers to move the monies back to where they are presently, right? So
Couldn't we move money from contingency into the budget line at the same time if we approve the MOA?
Yeah, potentially. Yep.
Randy, you're saying that tomorrow night we decided to have a special resolution. We could do that.
I don't,
I think, I mean, yes, if you can make a motion to approve the MOA tomorrow night, suspend the rules.
I'd do that.
I think that would be dangerous myself, but that's perfectly within the rules.
We ask Corporation Counsel.
It's within, as far as I know, it's within the rules. So, I mean, we can ask Corporation Counsel, we can go into attorney-client session if they're here.
I am here. I believe Barbara just sent me a message saying her power went out temporarily. Barbara, are you back?
I'm back for now, yes.
My question is, can we suspend the rules tomorrow night? This is Patrick O'Reilly. Can we suspend the rules tomorrow night? Approve the MOA from the CSEA and then vote on the budget and the raises for the CSEA. Can we do that?
I believe we would want to talk about that privately.
Okay. Does everyone want to talk about this privately? All right, so Alyssa sent a link for us today. So that means, so you who are online, be sure when you call in that you mute and turn off your cameras, and we will do the same here. Does everybody have that email from Alyssa?
Is that the same email from last week or is there a new one?
There's a new one from today.
It's a new one from today that lists the number and access code.
Maybe get yourself one coming in here.
Oh, did you receive it?
Yeah, we got it.
Doug, did you receive it?
Sorry, Tony, did I receive
Did
what?
you receive that? Did you receive that number and access code from Elisa Tinty this afternoon? She sent everybody an email with that number.
I don't know.
With what, Tony?
Elisa sent us all an email this afternoon, Doug, with the number for us to go into a meeting with the attorney.
No, if I did, I missed it. I don't have it.
Doug, I'll send it to you right now.
They're going to send it to you right now, Doug.
You sent it to an email?
They're going to send it to you. Yup. Just make sure you mute your camera and your mic and you turn off your video, I guess, right? Is that what we have to do, Randy?
Yeah.
Let me get the number first.
Yeah, and Maribel, if you could send it to Dan Gartenstein as well, thank you.
So you're going to
Actually,
receive
can
it
you
from
just
her.
send it around generally, Maribel, please?
Rennie, are you gonna put?
Yes, we'll do.
Yeah. Doug, mute yourself and turn off your camera, please, Doug.
No, I'm still looking for the number. Where was it sent to? Is it the city email?
Yeah, it should be sent to your city email, Doug.
All right, hold
All
on.
right. Yep.
Oh, okay, I have it.
Alrighty, so mute yourself and turn off your video.
He is. In January?
Retiring.
Machines, okay.
You got all that?
All right, so that was number 240. Oh, John too, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
So we had two questions. Resolution 230. Can you tell us what department that resolution is for? Is this for the zoning officer increase of hours?
That would be the building department.
Oh, for what? Oh, is that for the director's salary?
No, that was for the part, are you talking about, hold on, let me just grab my notes here. 230 is, right, that was to expand the hours of the part-time zoning officer.
Yes, okay. It doesn't say that in there, so, Maribel, could you make a note, to add that department is for the zoning officer?
Yes.
Thank you. And then John, let's see, there's a little discrepancy between the list, that's just the list, versus the actual resolutions, because 238 in the list says it's the capital plan. But in the resolutions, 237 and 238 both relate to the mayor's request for increased salary.
I don't understand that. 237 should be the mayor's salary. 238 is a bond ordinance that I forwarded earlier today.
Okay, because it's really unclear here. Let's see.
237 was one committee report.
I see, then it skips, in the resolutions, it skips to 239. So you're saying you sent that separately?
No, I'm not sure what the question is, Rennie. I sent the bond ordinance, 238 is a bond ordinance. Has nothing to do with the mayor's salary. That's just the equipment list, the 1,540,500.
I'm just saying, in the actual resolutions, with all the committee reports and everything, there is no copy of 238 between 237 and 238.
Well, that's probably because the actual bond ordinance did not, it didn't come until today.
Okay.
I can't request a bond ordinance until finance passes it through. So I've got a short window of time to get it from bond counsel. So usually it comes on the day of caucus, sometimes the day of the council meeting. But Elisa and Corp Council do have that bond ordinance.
Okay.
And if
So
you want, I can forward it to you now, Rennie. Do you want me to forward you a copy of it?
That would be great, yes.
Sure.
It works fine tonight.
Okay, I'm sending it right now.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. So we have the bond ordinance. Everyone saw the capital plan. All right, so these are for all the things that are in the capital plan. And as I remember in our discussions, everyone was okay with the items requested in the capital plan. Is everybody still okay? This is then 238, the bond relating to the capital plan.
Yes.
Any discussion regarding the capital plan? Great, hearing no discussion, we will now move on to 241. Did an angel just get its wings?
So let me,
Steve
I
Shabbat?
have to see the dents here, let's see. So 240, so when somebody says, okay, resolution 240, what are we gonna be doing here?
If it passes tomorrow night, we're just putting the money for CSEA pay increases into contingency.
Okay,
Then that's what we talked about. Then on Wednesday at Finance, we'll discuss the MOA.
okay,
And if it passes there, then we've got the various seculae we talked about.
all right.
Well, Lenny, does this seem like a more correct way of going about it than just approving it on the budget like we were asked to?
It just seems safer to me. There's no guarantee that the MOA will pass. As we look at it, talk about it, whatever, you know, in the midst of discussing it in finance, people might change their minds, what have you. This is my personal feeling. I just feel safer with it in contingency. We can, like John was saying, we can move it if we decide on Wednesday night, we can make that happen.
Safer than what?
Putting it in the budget line without a memorandum of agreement. Okay. 241, this is requesting approval of the city's general fund budget. So this is approving the whole enchilada, as it were, as amended with total expenditures of $721,659. And if memory serves, that's the same as the last 6 years, I believe. Any issues with that? Any discussion?
Yes,
Yes, Doug Coop.
yeah. This resolution has got a whereas in it. The second whereas states, adjusted by the recommendations of the Finance Audit Committee, the aggregate sum of yada, yada, yada. Those recommendations include the MOA, which we've just talked about, but also elimination, secondly, the elimination of the chief of staff, and also limiting the mayor's salary to $5,000, which I do not support. And the mayor certainly doesn't support that. It's interesting that the version of this resolution that appeared this morning had a clause in it that these suggestions had been approved by the mayor. And I called him on it. He said, "What?" He said, "I most certainly have not approved them." And that's why you got a revision sometime this afternoon. So he is definitely not in favor of that. And I'm not supportive of it. And if the rest of you pass it, I'm afraid he's going to veto it. And I hope he does. I hope he does.
Hey, Doug.
It's up to him to do it.
But as we go through the meeting tomorrow night, things might change. Right? You might say, I want to suspend the rules and change that.
I mean, as it relates to the MOA,
What?
as it relates to the MOA,
As it relates to the chief of staff, is that the thing and again, as it relates to the mayor's raise, and again, as it relates to the other thing, you have the power to do that.
that's very true. If we suspended the rules and changed that recommendation on the chief of staff, I could very well, alter my position on that.
You have the power to do that. You have the power to also change the mayor's raise too. That one too, that resolution. And what's the other one? You didn't like? Oh, and the raises.
Yeah.
You can do that and ask us to vote on it.
Could do that.
I think I see how the MOA is going. I mean, it's complicated as we know. But that can go through. But the chief of staff and the mayor's raise, unless we suspend the rules to change that, it's not gonna, well, it won't have my support, and it certainly will not have the mayor's support. He's made that abundantly clear.
Yeah. That would lead to all kinds of complications if he vetoes the whole thing.
He has that right.
He has that right. But he would end up not getting a lot of things that I think he wants. Okay.
So, Randy, what would be the process tomorrow when the mayor's raise comes up? Obviously, I'd like to see that changed to $10,000. So how do I go about doing that? Do I ask?
We have to vote. We have to vote, and if it is voted down, I mean, this is one possibility, then you ask to suspend the rules, and you make a motion to increase it like you're talking about, and then we make the change, and then John Toohey does the change.
Okay.
Well,
So we have the vote.
Yeah.
And then if it's voted down to 5,000, and I don't agree with that, I can say I'd like to suspend the rules and get a vote, correct?
You make a motion, yeah. You make a motion to suspend the rules, discuss an amendment to increase the salary by $10,000. You get a second. We have any discussion. If that passes, then that becomes the rule. $10,000 would be the increase, not $5,000.
And Doug could do a similar thing with the.
Yeah.
And Doug could do a similar thing with the chief of staff. He could say, if we approve it, that the chief of staff gets cut. Doug could say, I'd like to suspend the rules, and I would like to add chief of staff position back into the budget, right?
No, I wouldn't do that if the vote on that is 7-1 in favor of making the change, 7-1 in favor of deleting the chief of staff position. He's not going to get a second for any kind of motion, so there'd be no reason. But if that motion, if that resolution to delete the chief of staff is defeated, right, then that suggests a different plan is required. Somebody that could then make a motion.
Only if it's you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, you can make a motion whenever you want to. I'm just saying it doesn't.
Might not win.
Yeah,
The motion was bad.
If you see the vote is in favor 7-1, there's not a lot of reason.
No reason to do it.
Yeah, but if it's 5-4, then you might want to try it then if you feel like you can convince somebody to move to your side.
Yeah, game of chess, yeah. I like that.
I think that's perfectly fine.
I like that stuff.
I want to get out of here. What's up?
I'll make it quick. I'll hold my tongue. Thank
All
you,
right,
Randy.
any other discussion there? Okay. Then we move on to 242. This is the tax levy. Approval of a total of $17,730,094 in taxes to be raised by the city's 2022 budget. This includes both the tax levy of $17,650,940 and prorated taxes of $79,154. Any discussion there? Again, I believe this is the same as we've been at now for several years. Any further discussion? Hearing none. 243, resolution of the Common Council requesting approval of the city's 2022 sewer fund budget with total expenditures of $5,285,089. Everybody okay with the sewer budget? Any discussion? If not, then we move to 244. Resolution to approve the city's sewer rate at amount of $6.51 per unit This is at the advice of our WWTP folks. Any discussion there? Slight increase. Everybody okay with that? Hearing no discussion then, I assume everyone is in favor of that. Number 245, resolution to the Common Council authorizing the transfer of any or all of the 10 tax foreclosed properties to RUPCO. This is moving out of the budget now. This is an item that was taken up with finance and audit. RUPCO is proposing to refurbish these 10 properties and then selling them at AMI levels below 100% to first-time home buyers. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I just have a question, because
Yes, Rita.
I wasn't in that meeting. I was just wondering, was the land bank involved in this at all, or why are we not transferring to the land bank, but rather to RUPCO? Was there any discussion about that?
Again, I was absent from this meeting, so anyone else who was there?
Kevin O'Connor was there, and he explained that they had capacity and ability to get the money to finance the renovations much more quickly than the land bank did at this time.
Okay. Was there any representatives from the land bank there?
No.
Any other discussion? Anybody against this? Hearing no further discussion, we'll move to the next item. 246, this is a bond ordinance for the Henry Street Sewer Project, construction and construction costs. It's a request for an additional sum of $360,000 for the Henry Street Sewer Project, construction and construction costs. Any discussion here? Maribel, would you please note that on the committee report, there is no estimated financial impact. If we could get that added on there, I'd appreciate it.
Or on what number again?
This is 246.
46, okay.
Sounds like he's been in contact with them and talking to them, but it's not true. It's not. Anything that he says true.
All right. Resolution 248. This is approving. Huh?
247.
Wait, what did we just do?
246 was the bond, 247.
Oh, there's let's see, I don't see a 247. Thank you.
That's my raise, I think.
247. Does anybody have the other list in front of them? I've got it here. Oh, at 247, yeah, you're right. It's going to be the bond ordinance. It's going to be actual bond. Yeah, the bond ordinance. All right. So that's 247 is the bond ordinance for 246. 248 is to approve adding building safety division charges to the 2022 property tax bills. This is a standard practice that we do every year. Any discussion there? Hearing none, we'll move on to 249. Recommending approval for adding Department of Public Works charges to the 2022 property tax bills. Same thing there, just from DPW. Everybody good with that? No discussion. We move to 250.
Oh, is that one, if they have any charges, it just goes onto their tax bill?
Yeah.
All right. And the same with the water department?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. 250, speaking of, approval for adding water department charges to the 2022 property tax bills. If everybody's okay with that. Move on to 251, authorization of the partial abandonment of Fair Street Extension and authorizing the mayor to execute in any and all documents necessary. Any discussion there? Everyone okay with that? All right. And then the last item is the first reading of local law 1 relating to good cause eviction. Because this is the first reading, there will be no action taken, no discussion. It is there to ensure the public is clear what is being proposed.
No discussion,
No discussion.
no discussion.
A question, Randy.
Yes, sir.
When do we as a whole entire council vote on this?
At the second reading in January. So it'll go over to the next group of councilors.
The council votes on it in January.
Correct. Because it's a local law, it has to have 2 readings over 2 months.
So this is Barbara. I just want to put on the record that the form, without going into detail, unless you all want to go into attorney-client session, that we do not believe that this is my advice, that this not be read, put on for a first reading in its current form. And given the transparency and act and timing requirements we've already discussed, that it's my advice that this not be put on for a first reading tomorrow in the form that was circulated.
We might need to go into attorney session because I'm not sure what the process would be to do that, since my understanding is first readings have no action or discussion even attached to them. So I don't know. In other words, I don't know how we take it off the agenda for tomorrow night.
So do we want to dial in to the number that was circulated before and talk that through?
Yeah, I think we have to, because like I just don't understand how we would do it.
Okay.
We got to mute again, huh?
Yes, sir. All right, so that's the end of our session here. Andrea, are you still here?
I am.
So we're concerned about the setup of the room for tomorrow night. Can you all hold on a second? We're concerned about the setup for the room for tomorrow night, because when we tried to have two screens going, it was, what do you call that? A calamity, a disaster?
So I worked this through with Kyle. We'll be okay.
Okay, so we'll be sitting at our desks tomorrow night?
Everybody will be sitting at our desks. The screen, that big screen that you're looking at right now, will be in a different spot. IT will be at the meeting to start us. They won't be there for the whole thing. So I have it all figured out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Anything else anybody has to say? Any dances? Do? All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll consider this meeting adjourned here at 9:06 p.m. See you all tomorrow night.
We're adjourning?
Good night, all.
Good job.
We're not staying?
Tony,
All right. See you.
feel better.
How come we didn't discuss 251, Rennie?
What's that?